Nothing Personal starts in 30 seconds. It's just business. This is Nothing Personal.
Here you go.
Reunited, and it feels so good. Reunited. That's the Nothing Personal word of the day. It is Wednesday, October 16th, 2024, and Peaches and Herb had it right. Being reunited does feel so good. Davante Adams got on the plane. He was in Vegas, baby, despondent beyond repair. Oh, look, I can make a red eye. No problem. I just got the call. I'm going to scurry to Harry Reid International, fly through security, not get myself onto the plane. And then before you know it, I'll be on McAfee. I'm not going to present to you the analysis of the trade that you can get on 59 other shows. That's not me. Davante Adams, what is he? What? I mean, at best, is he at the bottom of tier 2 of receivers right now? Maybe the top of tier 3. It's not exactly trading for Jerry Rice in his prime. Or it's not exactly trading for Davante Adams in his prime. But the Jets, when you're a Jet, you get this feeling that everything's going to be fine, which is funny because when you're a Jets fan, you get the feeling that nothing's going to be fine because nothing ever is fine. But bringing back, the first thing I thought of when this trade happened was actually the Nets in Brooklyn, except at the time they were in Jersey when they traded for all those Celtics players and said, look at us, and then realized, wow, they're sort of not what they were when they were winning championships. Aaron Rodgers has a problem because he thinks he's still Aaron Rodgers. I assume Davante Adams has the same exact problem. And now that they're reunited together, they have this bias where they confirm to each other, hey, we're what we used to be. I mean, what we did in Green Bay, we're going to do that again, of course. Yeah, definitely. I'm so happy to be here, Aaron. Just, I'll run the right routes, I promise. You won't have to call me out the way you call out your other receivers, which is such Bush League crap. Aaron, why did you do that? Davante, I'll never do that to you. Did you hear Aaron Rodgers in his media reports, meetings, interviews, making fun? I'm not making fun of him. He wasn't mocking. But he was basically doing what leaders don't do. Boy, I'd follow Aaron Rodgers into any foxhole. He's my guy. He's got my back. Telling us that the receiver ran the wrong route. It's page 3 of the teammate playbook. Don't do it unless there's a purpose to it. What was the purpose to it? To make it okay that he's going to be off the team and you've replaced him with Davante Adams? Are you trying to hide the fact that you just are trying to get the gang back together by getting all sorts of Packers to play with you? I think the Jets have like 6 Packers on their team from when Aaron Rodgers played there. And he's only been, how long has he been there? He broke his Achilles last year in August. So 6 Packers, and they're 2-4. I've got an idea. I think that when you're the Las Vegas Raiders, and we're going to talk about the Raiders later on in the show because they had other off-the-field news, you have an opportunity to get out from under money for a player who doesn't want to be there, and you don't want to stand on principle and make him sit and make him rot, and you have a way to redo the contract, which positively impacts your dead money, positively impacts your actual cash flow. All because you've got a quarterback who travels and traffics in nostalgia and an owner of another team who is drinking the Kool-Aid of that nostalgia, you got yourself a trade. Woody Johnson, the owner of the Jets, is so desperate that it makes me smile thinking about what it would be to be close to him, because my guess is he stinks of it. They put a microphone in front of his face, and he was spectacular. He was spectacular. He was asked by a reporter, hey, what do you think after this trade? Think the season's salvageable? And he went full Jim Mora. Salvageable? Salvageable? That's a Jim Mora thing. Come on, there's 65% of you who are laughing right now. The other 35%, just Google it. Playoffs? So Woody Johnson said, salvageable, we're going to kick arsh. You can add the words after that. We're going to do really well. He is of the belief that trading for Davante Adams and somehow having Rodgers and Adams on the same page, here's what's not on the same page. Adams' route and Rodgers' arm. Don't get back to me and at me, David P. Sampson. You didn't see the Hail Mary. That guy can flick it. That guy's so accurate. The problem is the receivers aren't where they're supposed to be. Not the ball isn't where it's supposed to be. Horse hockey. The final play of the game against the Bills, I don't care whether he was running down the red line, the yellow line, the white line, the pink line, or the blue line. The ball was underthrown to any line. It happens. Quarterbacks over 40, it doesn't work. Name quarterbacks where when they're old, they're good. I don't know. Tom Brady? Anyone else? I mean, you could throw out a few that had a few good games, a few moments. Generally, if you're counting on Aaron Rodgers to bring you to the Super Bowl because Woody Johnson said it's the best team he's put together in 25 years, I say, let's start a revolution. The NFL has all these trades that are being announced. It's like, what's the record? They're 2-4-6. So keep in mind my math, which is every football game is equal to 10 baseball games. And so if you're 2-4 right now, you've played 60 games in baseball. So you're pretty much at the end of May. The deadline isn't quite yet because the deadline's at the end of July, as you know, in baseball. But you pretty much know what you're doing and what you're hoping to get at the end of May. There's some great stats from Jason Stark. You should read his pieces in The Athletic, of course. And he has a great show, Starkville. But the standings at the end of May are pretty similar mostly to the standings by the end of September. But we don't talk about that much because we want you to have hope that you could be this year's Detroit Tigers. So the Jets are 6 games in at 2-4. And they're making trades. They're deciding to add because they feel like this is their window. They can't waste another year of Aaron Rodgers. I get it. Just like I get why the Cleveland Browns would trade Amari Cooper. Why exactly would they keep him? The only reason I can think of is that Kevin Stefanski in that horrific video that we played yesterday telling you that Stefanski, God, thank you, Coca, 4869. In the video of Kevin Stefanski yesterday, where he told us that Deshaun Watson gives them the best chance to win, that's why he's playing. And then a few hours later, they traded their number 1 receiver. So does that make it easier for Watson to win or harder? Does trading Cooper signal that they're about to do a structural change, or that they just had an opportunity to move out a player who they would view as also maybe second or third tier, but with a good name, and they'd be able to get an overpay from another team that may be desperate? Isn't that interesting? Trades are often made when there are 2 different views of the same prism, which is the beauty of a season is that it is like a prism. Depending on where you stand, that is how different it looks for your prospects. And what you have to take into account is that owners will wear different glasses at different times in order to look at the same thing the GM is looking at, or the media, or the fans, or his spouse, or whatever the case may be. Owners will put on a different pair of glasses in order to make what they're seeing look like what they want it to be. That's what Woody Johnson's doing. Hard to know if that's what they're doing in Buffalo. Buffalo has had some struggles. They're 21st in the league in total yards, 7th in points per game. They do have the best point differential in the AFC, but I think that watching Buffalo, you recognize that when they traded Diggs, they needed to have a replacement in theory, and they got themselves Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper is also not at the prime of his career, not even close. And this is the type of trade that if it's not supported by the quarterback, Josh Allen, or the coach, Sean McDermott, it could be a real problem. So Sean McDermott said, I got to meet the media here. And I remember how we've talked to you that when coaches or presidents meet the media, sometimes they're talking to the players, sometimes they're talking to you, the fans, sometimes they're talking to their own owner, sometimes they're just talking to other teams' front offices. Sean McDermott, when he met the media, he said something that was solely for his players, not for us. He said, first and foremost, we believe in the receivers that we already have in the room. Sean, let me help you workshop a statement. When you bring in a player, when we do it in baseball at the trade deadline, when you do it in spring training, anytime you acquire a player who's not a prospect, a player who is going to be on your team, two things are happening. One, somebody's losing his roster spot. Two, someone will keep his roster spot but lose touches. In baseball parlance, lose at bats, lose innings. We already saw that bringing in Cooper was going to lead to Valdez-Scantling getting cut. It was a 1-for-1. So if you believe in the receivers that you already have in the room, why would you get more? The way you're supposed to say it after making a trade is when you're the coach or the general manager. If there is an internal political issue where you are losing a job, you have the GM speak, the head of baseball ops, the head of football ops, and you take the microphone and you say, my job is to make this team better. The unique opportunity to acquire a receiver like Amari Cooper was too good an opportunity to pass up, so we decided to make the trade. I am confident that my coach, Sean McDermott, and the rest of the team will be able to welcome him in, and he will be additive to help us get where we are going, which is to a parade down Main Street at the end of the Super Bowl. You have to take responsibility that you are trying to get better because, wait for it, that's your job. I'm sorry if there is collateral damage of a player being cut or if someone losing at bats or innings pitched. I don't care. It may not work, but my job is to look and take advantage of every possible moment, player, trade, signing, free agent, anything, the waiver wires. I'm looking at everything to get better. Why not own it? But they put Sean McDermott out there, and they made him say what he said, that first and foremost, we believe in the receivers. No, you don't. You wouldn't have made the trade. But I digress. We'll see when Amari gets here how we can get him up to speed and get him integrated into what we do and how we do things. It's never about one guy. Wow. Amari's going to walk in. He's going to say, thank you, coach. Man, I feel so welcomed here. I'm a difference maker. Little different than what went on in Green Bay. Come on, Dave. Little different than what went on in East Rutherford, huh? Where Davante Adams is coming in hot. The miracle worker. The Cleveland Guardians are totally screwed. Not only because the Yankees are winning 2-0, and generally in a 7-game series, the team who's up 2-0 is going to win it about 69.9% of the time, anecdotally, but because when you have to bring in one of your 4 best relievers in the second inning, it's not ideal, especially when it's not a bullpen game and it's your ace who started the game. It's not particularly a good sign when Aaron Judge starts to heat up by hitting a 2-run homer in order to screw the run line, excuse me. It's also not ideal. This bothered me, and I'm going to be in the minority here, Coca, and you're going to accuse me of not being fun. I've got a weird thing about this, and I've had it since I got into the game all those years ago. When you're losing 6-2 in the 9th inning and you hit a solo home run to make it 6-3, I'm not a big fan of pimping the home run and celebrating it, putting on the home run chain, taking the photos, and all the other things that all teams do. You're down 3 still, and you've got 3 outs to go. It's the whole touchdown celebration when you're down 30 points. Now, it could be the start of a comeback. That's great. I'm going to celebrate the heck out of the tying run. I'll tell you that. Jose Ramirez is a great player. I've talked about Jose Ramirez for sure. He hit a home run. But he had opportunities, games 1 and 2, that could have been the difference in the games. And he couldn't get a hit until a meaningless home run where Yankee fans used to say, that looks like a Stanton home run. Of course, not understanding what Stanton does. But yes, I'm defending Stanton. You liking him now? Sorry. That seemed a little personal. I don't want my love for Stanton to ever color the fact that, of course, I've criticized him before. Of course I have. But Jose Ramirez hits the 9th inning home run, and all of a sudden the Guardians are feeling good about themselves. Come on. How sloppy was that game last night? Just, that's the best we got? Those are the final 2 or the final 4, final 2 in the American League? This is not me anti-Anthony Rizzo, who I've talked about in the past, or Jazz Chisholm, who I've talked about in the past. But man, you cannot make outs on the bases. Hard stop. I've told you that physical errors are excusable. Mental errors are not. Physical errors. Dropped fly ball in the first inning that leads to a run. Physical error. Right field, Brennan, missed catch. Physical errors. They happen. Jazz Chisholm running in front of Volpe. They ended up giving a hit on that play, but it was an error. But that's a physical error. He was going for the ball. He thought he had the right play, and he just didn't. Totally normal, totally fine. Screwing around on the bases, getting picked off, you just can't do it. Too sloppy. Why do I think the Guardians have a problem? Because the Yankees needed to win the pennant to start with for MLB, and we're going to have way more. I've touched on this, Coca, but I have quite a bit more to talk about on this subject. The importance of the World Series this year and what it actually means for collective bargaining, what it means for the media landscape in baseball, what it means on myriad levels. And if, in fact, we do get Yankees-Dodgers or Yankees-Mets. So it's really dependent only on the Yankees winning the series, which it appears they're going to do, much to the chagrin of all of my wait to sees from last year. We are going to be able to talk to you in episodes coming up later this week or next week about how owners react to different World Series participants, how media companies react to different World Series participants, where baseball is right now. I can't wait to talk about it because it's interesting to me what we could have in front of us. The Guardians do have a 5 out of 37 chance to prevail in this series. Teams that are up 2-0 have won 32 out of 37 times in the LCS best of sevens, but the Guardians are not that team. I'm not concerned or changing my picks because Alex Cobb, their starter, got hurt. He has a back strain. He's done for the year. They already took him off the roster. I do believe the Guardians have the best bullpen. However, in order to have the best bullpen, you have to have a lead late in the game and not start using the best bullpen in the second inning. Do I believe that Clay Holmes and Luke Weaver should be the bullpen that carries you to a World Series? It is impossible for me to comprehend that. But here they are, 6 games away from doing it. It is amazing that they have not used any starters yet as bullpen arms. I'm just fascinated by how these series have gone, but there's a lot of baseball left to be played. Speaking of baseball left to be played, I would like to thank everybody for sticking with me. And I'm glad today is, say Thursday, Coca? Nothing personal pick of the day. I don't see it here. It's Wednesday. That's why. Nothing personal pick of the day. We're 141 and 151. We tried the Guardians with the run line. We're not doing that again. I'm not doing it. And of course, that means the Guardians are going to cover the 1.5 run line because I'm cold right now. I was so hot. I was at the cusp. I'd come all the way back, and now I'm back to 10 games under. Luckily, I still have 2.5 months, but man, it's like when you're down in a game, double digits, you come all the way back, and then the other team goes on a 12-0 run, and you lose by 14, and you're like, hey, that was a blowout the whole time. No, it wasn't. We had cut it to 2. The Mets are at Citi Field tonight. What a time to be in New York. One day the Yankees are hosting, then the Mets are hosting. We had the Jets, Giants, Rangers, Nets, Islanders, Liberty. What do you think? Can the Mets beat the Dodgers? Who's got the better team, do you think? Mets or Dodgers? Right now. You scared of Ohtani? Scared of a hurt Freeman? Dave Roberts came out yesterday and said we are not moving Ohtani down in the order. But Dave, when men are on base, Ohtani's hitting about 1,000. When men are not on base, he's hitting about 0.00. But why not move him? Makes total sense. Nah, we're going to stick with what we've done. It's gotten us this far. I like that. That's sort of a Jack McKeon move. This is our lineup. The Yankees are doing that. I saw that in that game, Coca. No pinch hitters, no nothing. The anti-Guardian stance. These are our 9 guys. We're going to play them every single day. It's what Jack did. We're taking the Mets. The Mets at home. There's something strangely magical about Severino, Citi Field, the Mets. I cannot explain the amount of crow that I'm going to have to eat when the Mets win a World Series, given the fact that Steve Cohen predicted 3 to 5 years, and we're now year 5, and he may have been right 5 years ago, and I've said he's been crazy. You may be right. I may be crazy, but it might just be a lunatic I'm looking for. Turn out the lights on the Guardians. Pick of the day is Mets over the Dodgers. Every day I'm thankful. Every day I'm thankful that I get to do what I do with you guys. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in 8 a.m. Nothing Personal with David Sampson YouTube channel. If it's 10:23 a.m., you're on the DraftKings network. Thank you for that as well. Download, subscribe. Let's keep setting records and growing on YouTube. Hit subscribe, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Days like today, yesterday, last week, it's almost every day. Obviously, thank you for all the notes, Coco. We got a lot of nice notes from people on our 5-year anniversary. People have been listening to us for years, every day. That is a responsibility we take very seriously, to the point where Coca and I and Sarah are grinding it for you, but it's really for us because we feel so good when we get to do this for you every day. I was thinking about, do I like this better? I was talking to someone in the commissioner's office yesterday, and we were having a conversation about this career I'm having right now versus the 18 years in baseball and how I think about that. And we got to talking about things that happen during the course of a season that I get to react to instead of having to be in the moment and deal with, and whether or not that's easier, harder. Do I like it better? Is it less stress? And one of the things is, having been with the Marlins for 16 years, dealing with hurricanes is a nightmare. And I've told some good stories about being yelled at by Bud Selig in the middle of a hurricane while putting shutters up literally on the roof of my house, trying to get to a second floor window. And Bud Selig is calling to tell me there's no hurricane coming. True story. I have a scar. I don't think there's anywhere camera can pick it up when a shutter sort of fell and cut me. Other than that, I really don't have hands that are indicative of any type of manual labor, except the truth is that for the first several years, I was doing shutters myself, along with other executives. And then 2 contracts in, I got someone to help me with shutters. It was too much. It was crazy. So I was thinking that I'm glad I don't have to deal with hurricanes in that way anymore. And the Tampa Rays have a real problem. And I want to talk about the Tampa Bay Rays right now. Tell you that they've got a new ballpark that was already agreed to that they are trying to build in St. Petersburg that is due to open in 2028. It is very difficult for me to convince you that a new ballpark in St. Petersburg will provide the relief that baseball and Tampa has so badly wanted to fix what ails them. Poor attendance, low revenue, low payrolls. New stadiums haven't been the panacea for over a decade. We couldn't even say it was going to be the panacea in Miami when our new ballpark opened in 2012, and we were right. What are the chances that St. Petersburg somehow wakens from its slumber because there is a new beautiful ballpark? We'll find out. But the question is, what else is going on in St. Petersburg? And the answer is tremendous cleanup from a hurricane, a hugely expensive undertaking. Litigation will be coming with insurance companies. It is years. About 7 years ago, maybe it's 8 years ago now, there was a hurricane in South Florida. There was damage done to the Marlins Park roof. Miami-Dade and the city of Miami would not submit that damage to their insurance. Remember, it is a county-owned building. The Trop in Tampa is not owned by the Rays. Those buildings are insured, but by the government. But when you submit a claim, it's much like you personally. When you submit a claim, sometimes you choose not to because the premiums will go up, because you'll be looked at as high risk. And when you do submit an insurance claim, you also may know that they don't say, hey, no problem. What bank should I wire that money into? Insurance companies take your money. If you're late by a day, you're not insured. And when it comes time to give you the money, it is a fight. In our case, the fight didn't even happen because the public entity would not even submit the roof damage. And it was a damage that we had to fix. Do you think that Tampa is going to put $50 million or St. Petersburg into a building that is finished? What are they trying to make it like Olympic Stadium? They're going to do a bunch of other events. People do some rolling, maybe get some car shows and spend that type of money? No. Trop, gone. Redevelopment in St. Petersburg. The real estate play that Stu Sternberg, the owner of the Rays, is doing by being willing to invest so much private money into a new ballpark in a place where there is no guarantee that from a baseball standpoint it works. That means you have to have another reason to do the deal because Stu Sternberg is no fool. So if he is doing a real estate play, then there are very tight financials that are not baseball based, and you can't screw around with those financials by dropping an extra 50 on a fiberglass roof in a building where you don't make a penny. As a matter of fact, you lose. And if the public says, hey, Stu, we'll pay for the repairs of the Trop, but every dollar we put in there is a dollar we don't give you for the new stadium. No thanks. That's a trade I'd like not to make. So now what? Now Tampa, the reason why they're being so quiet in their front office, they don't have the plan done yet. They've got to get a plan of where to play. It's their responsibility. When you buy a team, you sign an agreement, like a franchise agreement, like you're buying a McDonald's. You know, if you buy McDonald's, you promise, or Chick-fil-A, I'll be closed Sunday. I promise. McDonald's, I guarantee you I'll use the special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, and I'll do it on a sesame seed bun. when you buy a baseball team, you promise that you'll have a place to play. I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. Tampa Bay needs to find a place to play because it's not going to be the Trop. If you think that that's going to be repaired by March, then you are Woody Johnson. If you believe that the Trop is going to be repaired in time for any game next season, then you are just flat out misinformed, potentially delusional. If you are living right now in Raleigh, Montreal, Nashville, and you think, this is it, baby, we're getting the Rays. Nope. NGTH, not going to happen. The Tampa Bay Rays will end up playing in a spring training facility in Florida. And yes, they'll get wet. And yes, they'll get hot, just like we did a pro player from 1993 until 2012. Yes, there will be rain delays. Yes, there will be two major league teams, Tampa and Oakland, irony of ironies, playing in minor league facilities or spring training facilities. Yes, it remains unlikely that Tampa will sell out even a field as big as Steinbrenner Field in Tampa, which to me would be make the most sense for them to play. The union will have to approve anything, as well as Major League Baseball, any decision that Tampa makes about where to play. Anytime there's a reduction in revenue or a potential reduction in revenue or a potential reduction in shared revenue, then all stakeholders have a say. If the Tampa Bay Rays are going to have to take on more revenue sharing, which is amazing, or they're going to have fewer ways to make playoff money if they make the playoffs, which they're more apt to do than the Oakland A's. But the reason, don't kid yourself, that there's an issue of playing playoff baseball in Sacramento is come playoff time, you need more people, you need higher gate revenue because that's the type of revenue that gets split with the union, with the players. The union is rooting for teams like the Marlins playing a pro player where we get $60,000 a game for 3 home games. Yahtzee. It's a brilliant amount of share that gets distributed to the players. So I'm going to give you an official wait to see here, just so you have it, and we can be very clear. The Rays will be playing in a spring training stadium next season. Wait to see. We'll have more on the Tampa situation, but while the hurricane may be gone, and it's a good lesson, it's past the broccoli thing. Look at the picture of that roof. The issue that stays with you when you have been hit by something like a natural disaster, it stays for weeks, months, years. All right, when we come back, we're going to review a movie, and then we've got some Jerry Jones sound that should be embarrassing to Jerry Jones, but I promise you it isn't. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Nothing Personal. I watch a movie every day, and you all know me in a way that I show you all my vulnerabilities. I show you how I am and what I think, and I am truly an open book to you, much to the chagrin of family and friends, but I choose you. I watch movies to feel. Sometimes I don't know what I'm going to feel, but I know I'm going to feel something. I would like you to watch a movie that no one's watching, but I'm going to suggest it to you and tell you why. It's called Peak Season. Peak Season, I came across, and I'm a sucker for romantic comedies. I'm a sucker for anything that involves relationships. I believe that what I see on screen is what I want in my life, and I try to go after it in my life, and it never works that way. So I'm always disappointed, or I'm always looking to be in a headspace that I can never get to because life's not a movie. I am 56 years old, and I still suffer from this. I admit it. I'm not getting better. When people ask me, what is the movie that you go to for the number one feeling? It used to be Terms of Endearment. Now it's Bridges of Madison County. If you've never read the book or seen the movie, the specific scene I'm referring to is the door handle scene, which for me represents everything in my life. My hand is on the door. Do I open it to go there? Do I keep the door closed and stay here? What's the impact of that? Peak Season is a very similar movie to Bridges of Madison County in that you've got two people who are engaged to be married. They go on an outdoor trip to Jackson, Wyoming. The husband is an irredeemable character who is called away to work, leaving the fiance. So he's the fiance, leaving the fiance there, who goes do all the activities alone that she was going to do. And she's with the guide, who is this man. Shocking what happens. They have a lost in translation type of relationship that develops. And there is a door handle scene in Peak Season. Metaphorically, she's not holding a door handle, but you'll know exactly what I mean. I know that these types of movies are not for everyone. There's no star that you've heard of in this movie that I had heard of. The acting performances are so good it had me. I was so feeling, and I wanted something to happen. Did it? Move on. Oh, that was you saying. Sorry, Coca. I was so into the review there. That was Coca yelling, move on. Peak Season. Thanks for watching it. Let's talk about Jerry Jones, what he did yesterday. How do you want to do this in the best possible way? Do you want to play the video first, Coca? Or do you want me to set it up? I'm going to set it up and then I'm going to have you play it. Jerry Jones, which is really nice of him, as the owner and GM, has a weekly radio hit on 105.3 The Fan in Dallas. And that's a station I've appeared on. And there are great hosts there. It is an Odyssey. I think that's who owns it. It's a quality show, a quality sports market. And yesterday, Jerry Jones basically threatened the job of these three radio hosts. And I thought it was a bit until I dug a little deeper and listened a little longer and saw the reactions of the hosts after and realized none of it was a bit. Jerry Jones has damn near lost his mind.
Not your job. Your job isn't to let me go over all the reasons that I did something and I'm sorry that I did it. That's not your job.
Well, my job is to ask
why.
Why.
A job, or I'll get somebody else to ask these questions, man.
Jerry, we're trying to figure out why the team is.
I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding you. You're not going to figure out what the team is doing right or wrong. If you are, or any 5 or 10 like you, you need to come to this meeting I'm going to today. There are 32 teams here. You're geniuses.
Jerry,
okay? Y'all really think you're going to sit here with a microphone and tell me all of the things that I've done wrong and without going over the rights?
Boy, that sounds like old man grumpiness, doesn't it? Jerry Jones sounds 82 in that. He sounds like he's struggling to hold on to a vision of himself and his team that just doesn't exist anymore. And it is very common for octogenarians, powerful octogenarians, those who are surrounded by sycophants, to lash out when they get the feeling that something's not going their way. It's why the majority of owners don't talk to the media. So I give him credit as a GM going on radio. It's not easy. But here's the thing. When you've got a fan base who recognizes that they want better because, for all intents and purposes, the ownership for 25 years has been a failure, you got to have a little bit better diplomacy. So Jerry Jones had to react because this became a big story yesterday. Many, many times I've spoken to stations about DJs, about on-air talent, about broadcasters, had the conversation with our partners. We don't like to be criticized. We don't want to have this discussed. It's the old Jack Nicholson from A Few Good Men. Why don't you stand a post instead of standing there and throwing strays at me? Why don't you try running a team? You've never done this before. That used to be one of my favorite lines. You've never run a team. Happens to be true. It's a mic drop moment. So many people in this industry, in the media industry, think that they know how to run a team, and they don't. They're certainly good at critiquing it, but they don't know how to do it. Sort of like saying to a pilot, man, can't you avoid the turbulence? I'm getting plane sick. Well, no, not exactly. Well, you stink. No, not really. Jerry Jones may or may not be a good GM. I would argue that he should have fired himself about a decade ago. He may or may not be a good owner. I would argue he's a fantastic owner. Look at the value of his team. Though I agree that maybe another ring would be good, but it's not like he has none. So I do not argue for Jerry Jones being a bad owner for the city of Dallas and the community of Dallas-Fort Worth. However, there is absolutely no reason for him under any scenario to get into it and to play the power card over media members. You got to know that you can bridge your answer. If someone is questioning you, say, man, I got those same questions. This is outrageously unacceptable. We need to be better. I was so ashamed and embarrassed last weekend with our loss to the Lions that I'm not sleeping. I know the fans are angry. I know that you've got plenty to talk about during your time on the radio. But let me tell you, other than these 15 minutes, there's not a minute that I do anything else but think about how to make the Cowboys better. So many different ways he could have gone, but he went with the way. Then, of course, he had to comment later and said, I wouldn't go as far as saying the volume is, I wasn't yelling, but the facts are that if I'm going to be grilled by the tribunal, I don't need it to be the guys I'm paying. I can take it from fans and take it from other people. Is he paying their salaries? This would be news to me. So someone out there tell me, does Jerry Jones own 105.3? Is Jerry Jones partners with 105.3? He's got the Jerry Jones show, but I would think that the Cowboys likely get paid for his appearance, not that he pays them. Now, that would be fascinating if Jerry Jones is paying for that 15 minutes of radio because he so badly wants to do the weekly show. That would be like a manager or player or me or anybody paying to be on a show. No, we get paid to be on shows. Appearance fees. Very bizarre. Now, with TV broadcasters in baseball, I could argue, or radio broadcasters in baseball who are employees of the team, or TV broadcasters who we have the right to hire and fire under our contracts, then I could say, hey, I'm paying you. Shut the yapper. Don't comment on things that are happening in my personal or professional life. That's all legitimate for an owner to do. But talking about radio hosts on the team's flagship network, I don't see any privity of any kind. If I'm the radio hosts, I would keep going after him the way they did on Twitter last night on X. If I'm Jerry Jones, next week when I'm on the show, A, I hope I'm coming off a win, but B, I'm going to be slightly more humble. Jerry Jones, humble. Collision course, negative. Hi, my name is Mark Davis. I'm the owner of the Las Vegas Raiders, and I have a great announcement to make. That whole meeting of 32 that Jerry Jones was talking about, that's called an owner's meeting. We all get together, we sit in a room, and we make very big decisions. The biggest thing that I did today, you won't believe this, folks. This was amazing. I traded Davante Adams, and I got back Tom Brady and a third-round pick. Watch me do my Snoopy dance. That's pretty good, isn't it? Although Tom can't play, Mark Davis said, he can help us select a QB in the future. God, that's got to make everyone in Oakland just, oh, come on, David. 4869. That's got to make everybody in Las Vegas just feel all gooey inside, knowing that Tom Brady has been approved as an owner of the Raiders. There's a bunch of people reporting a bunch of stuff, so let me clarify a few things. Number one, when you buy in at a valuation of $3.5 billion and you get 10% of a team, you do not give $350 million to get 10%. $350 million is 10% of $3.5 billion. except that's the enterprise value. Enterprise value is debt plus equity. When you invest in something, you are investing in the equity portion, meaning to get 10%, you pay $220 million and you get 10%, because then you've got 10% of the equity, but you also are assuming 10% of the existing debt. So you do own 10% of a team worth $3.5 billion, but you only had to pay $220 million in order to get that percentage. A lot of confusion out there thinking he got it at a discount, because there are those in magazines who say the Raiders are worth $7.9 billion. News alert. We now have a factual valuation for the Las Vegas Raiders, not this Fugazi made-up crap that magazines do, that sports reporters, all of these business people are doing. It would be like someone looking at a stock price and saying, hi, I'm Jim Cramer. That stock that's trading at 40, forget it. That should be at 50. Buy, Mortimer, buy. When a team sells for a number, that's what the team is worth. We've got a data point of now, of today. Is it possible that somebody would have paid more than a valuation of 3.5? Maybe. But they didn't. Is it possible Tom Brady would like to have paid less with his partners? Maybe. But he didn't. The Las Vegas Raiders are worth $3.5 billion. He spent $220 million, which is 10% of $2.2 billion. Can you do the math on the amount of debt that the Raiders have? Seems like about $1.3 billion in debt. But again, my numbers could be wrong. So Tom Brady gets approved. Very bizarre. Tom Brady is the number one analyst for Fox Sports. Tom Brady released this amazing statement, how humbled and excited that he was unanimously approved as an owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. Don't worry, it took 2 years, and there were about 10 clubs voting against you, but it got changed, and you're good now. It's like Rob Manfred 10 years ago. I was unanimously approved as commissioner. True, right after you won 23-7, then it was 30-0. Once the people against you realize they lost, that's what happens in these votes and owners meetings. They keep going until it's unanimous. I've got a motion. Let's revote. All right, 32-0. Way to go. You think that Tom Brady is going to be involved in the Las Vegas Raiders? You can bet your Bipster. You think that the amount of money that he put in himself, and this is a total A-Rod situation, but it doesn't matter. A total Jeter situation doesn't matter. The fact is that Tom Brady is there. Mark Davis gave us the clue. He's dropping the breadcrumbs. All of the rules that he has with Fox, and there's a lot of them, which is outrageous. If I'm Fox, I'm getting rid of him. He can't go to another team's facility. He can't watch practices. He can't go to broadcast production meetings, either in person or virtually. He can't criticize game officials or other clubs. Can't gamble or tamper. Pretty much you need to do all of those things other than gambling and tampering in order to be a good analyst, don't you? Now, Tom Brady's gotten better. I told you I was wrong. He's got good ability. But what I also want to remind you is that I think Tom Brady wants to run a team. Because if Mark Davis says that he's going to help us select a quarterback, is that like a Dan Marino thing in Miami where he used to have reporting responsibilities and now he's got sweet responsibilities on game day right in front of the camera near Steve Ross? Does Tom Brady want to be John Lynch or does Tom Brady want to be Dan Marino? Tom Brady's going to figure that out. I would imagine that Tom Brady would rather run a team. Tom Brady is very competitive. Tom Brady's going to realize soon enough that being an analyst, however good it is, it's a lot of hard work. I'm traveling nonstop. And by the way, there's no winning or losing at the end. He misses the competition. I'm going to give you a wait to see when we tell you something's going to happen. If it does, great. If it doesn't, we'll revisit it. Tom Brady is going to be named head of football operations for the Raiders. He is going to take on far greater responsibility than making appearances as an ambassador like is his contract with Fox, glad handling people and sponsors. Forget it. He wants to be right there in the trenches. He wants to build a winner in his image and be settled in a place, and he chose Vegas. Mark Davis chose him. When you trade a player for a coach, I've done it. The reason why you do it is you know that you're going to be better in the long run. Welcome to Vegas. It's just business. This is nothing personal.